Let's rock and roll. I don't know where that energy came from. Sorry, I'll simmer down a bit.
It was good. It's good. I missed you. I've missed you, and you're ridiculous.
I started speaking without knowing what I was actually gonna say, and then it just kind of came out like that.
And that's what I've missed.
That's what happened? Yeah.
Hi, friends.
Hello, puppets.
Howdy, y'all.
And welcome to Muppet Sex and Trauma. I'm Sara Ezzat, the Fat Culture Critic on YouTube.
I'm Jack Kramme, editor / right-hand man for Passion of the Nerd and editor for Chipperish Media.
And I'm Josh Gosdin, and I really missed you guys. I really missed y'all. I'm just so glad to be back with y'all.
And that's more than enough because I missed you all too. It's been ages.
I missed you guys. It's good to be back. Good to be back.
So, yeah, we love all of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And here we are for Zhaan's What I Did on My Holidays.
This episode, man. So we just get straight into it.
Dream a Little Dream was written by Rockne S. O'Bannon under the pseudonym Stephen Ray and directed by Ian Watson. O'Bannon is the show creator, and we've seen a number of episodes from him. We've also seen a number of episodes directed by Ian Watson, including the notorious Jeremiah Crichton. Zhaan and Zhaan are trapped in a defunct transport pod until Moya returns. While they wait, Zhaan tells Zhaan about the source of her nightmares. Some time ago, when the crew was separated after blowing up Scorpius's base, Zhaan, Rigel, and Chiana are looking for Aaron, John, and Dargo, and one of the places they look is the planet Litigara. It is your standard sci-fi monoculture planet of the week. Oops, all lawyers edition. This is a bad place to get caught jaywalking. So of course, Zhaan does. Good news. Her lawyer tells her she'll only have to do 10 days. But any days are too many as Moya is anxious to get on with the search and look for Talon. Just then, a not at all suspicious random stalker lady offers to spring Zhaan from the slammer, with a whole melty bar and a map of the joint. This is bound to go well. Oh, and what's this? A dead body in her way and a swarm of cops waiting to pounce. Whoever coulda thunk it? I am shocked. I tell you, shocked. Time to go see the magistrate with her big old magistrate hat. That is the most magistrated hat of all hats that ever had it. And when you know they're all in a little bit of a rush to judgment since the execution is already scheduled. And Zhaan can't plead innocent unless someone on this entire planet of almost all lawyers will take the case. Somebody? Anybody? Well, it's up to Rigel and Chiana. They can step up and play lawyer. There's just one little problem. If they lie, they die. And so it's Law and Order Uncharted Territories Division. Starring the Hynerian answer to Perry Mason and Grey Miss Marple. While they attempt to make an investigation aided by the one person in this story who is not a lawyer, the bartender, Zhaan sinks deeper and deeper into herself, hallucinating John, Aaron, and Dargo as she goes. Inept as they are, Chiana and Rigel's desperate defense does make a dent in the entire lack of evidence of Zhaan's guilt. And that causes enough trouble for suspicious stalker lady to nab Chiana for a wee little chat with the senior partner of Planet Lawyer. The finest mind the legal profession has to offer on this planet incriminates himself on an open comm channel to Pilot and then lets Chiana go for some reason. Pilot is now on board with the legal team of Sparky and Pip, and they put on a little bit of pageantry with a bit of trickery with a burning torch to push Mr. Brilliant Legal Mind into confessing in open court. And it makes just about as much sense as anything else on this planet, so Fabulous Hat Lady agrees, and everyone is set free, and there we have it. Back in the present, John reassures Zhaan that he supports her commitment to her spiritual seek, whatever anyone else says. As Moya's crew call in to say they'll be along shortly, the two friends share a very nice moment.
It was not at all what I expected. this was an incredibly ambitious episode, with a lot of ambitious ideas, and I didn't mind it, but it could have been so much better. I wish it was so much better. But look, a lot of great performances, some good ideas that just, I don't know, they just sort of like fizzled rather than, become fully realized, I guess.
Yeah, this definitely was an episode. So look, Sara, you and I have talked about this any number of times, both on this podcast and in other locales as well. I don't need a metaphor or an allegory to be subtle in order for me to enjoy it. I grew up on Star Trek. They literally painted two actors, half white and half black, to talk about race relations in the 60s. I don't need subtle. But this was a little much for even me. The planet was named Litigara.
I know, Litigara. I gotta say, I appreciate the pun, though. I really do. I appreciate a good pun.
I had the closed captioning on because I keep it on so that I can make sure that I catch everything everybody says. And when it spelled out Litigara, I just rolled my eyes.
Also, like,
gonna have a planet of lawyers, it's on Litigara.
Right. And a planet like 90% full of lawyers, that place is fun, I bet. That's a wonderful place to be.
Oh yeah.
Okay, are you ready for the explanation?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, please.
What the fuck happened? Okay. So this is kind of a Frankenstein episode.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the original idea of, Planet of the Lawyers thing was something that they conceived way back when they were before it had even been named Farscape.
Oh wow, okay.
They were trying to sell the idea, and they were working on the idea, and this is what they sent, one of the ideas they sent to the Sci-Fi Channel guy to sell him on the idea of the thing they were cooking up with at the time was called Space Chase. And he was like, neat. I like Planet of the Lawyers. Do you have a pilot? So they sent him the pilot. And that's kind of like, so this sort of thing it's kind of one of those, it's one of those kill your darling moments, because this was kind of a darling. Mm-hmm. That it had been conceived all the way back, and there was no way, they couldn't find a way to fit it into season 1. And then they wrote it as the opening for season 2, because that's when they decided to set it during the time when they're looking for Zhaan and Dargo. And I think that would have made Brit Mind the Baby feel less like, wait a minute, it just happened. But it also, like, this does not make sense at the beginning, because it doesn't move that story that we're all interested in. And it
stalls that story.
Yeah, and as Claudia Black commented on the episode, it asks us to care for a whole bunch of characters that we're just introduced to, and I don't think it accomplishes it.
And that's always a hard sell.
But particularly to do that at the opening of the season. So they had shot it, and part of the reason that they shot it was because it was. They were moving studios, and this worked in the production in that it didn't require them to use the Moya sets that were being deconstructed and reconstructed. Because you notice there's no Moya set.
Just pilots then.
Yeah. So they did it in this interim space, and then they recognized, no, this is not going at the beginning. This doesn't make any sense then. So then they had to sort of whack off bits and make this to make this opening and closing, to have it be Zhaan's What I Did with My Summer Holidays. Even though 90% of what she's telling us she isn't present for.
Yeah.
So
that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
That's why the whole dream aspect feels so unnecessary, and like, why is this here? Like,
yeah.
And they didn't even have the title as Dream, and they're doing the whole nightmare thing, and apparently It was actually that Ben Browder ad-libbed singing "Dream a Little Dream," and
Oh.
the director went, "I like that," and they went and got licensed to use
All right.
because it's one of those American songbook titles. And so that's how the episode got its name. So it is a total, like, it's a Frankenstein thing made from killed darlings, which is why it's like interesting ideas that are a complete mess.
I'm down for that, absolutely, and I'll never poo-poo ambitious ideas poorly executed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm really stuck on the idea that this was used to sell the show. Like, I don't get it. I'm sorry, I don't.
I think it was somewhat different then, because it was the tone has changed a lot to be more real now.
Yeah.
But it was like
Right.
it was kind of like the jokey thing about the Oops All Lawyers planet, and a lot of winking to the camera about the
Right.
lawyer planet, and that it's a very Star Trek premise, because it's like it always reminds me of the planet of the handkerchief people.
Yep. I was thinking that the whole time. When she crossed the street, I was like, that's when he falls in the flower bed.
Yes. What was that episode called?
That was called Justice in Star Trek: The Next Generation season 1.
Yes, it's the planet of the handkerchief people, because they literally are wearing. It's a very William Worthius at his very elation theory, and yeah, it's the one little infraction causes insane thing, and it's always these kinds of things. I think there's obligatory courtroom scenes of complete injustice, which I think is partly maybe because Hollywood writers have to deal with Hollywood lawyers, and they want to write a fucking hate lawyers.
Don't be a lawyer.
Speaking of Star Trek too, the lawyer costume was very reminiscent of something I've seen Q wear. I don't know what episode. But
Big hat lady?
It reminded. Yeah, it was like I feel like it was a bit of a ripoff. I don't know.
It's Encounter at Farpoint is when
And again, in All Good Things.
Yes, when Q comes in the judge robe, which is also a fucking fabulous hat. And yes, is very reminiscent of that, except my costumer's eye couldn't help but notice that the ribbon around the hat was slightly it was a little bit out of alignment. And I am probably one of the only people who would glom onto something like that, but it was annoying me. But it is a fabulous hat.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciated like the effort put into this episode in terms of the costumes, the set design. There was this like it wasn't the best CG, but there was this outside shot of like cars whizzing by, and I was like, wow, this is like really like they're stepping it up here. So I appreciated a lot of that. Like, they made that planet feel as real and as alive as they possibly could, I guess. But yeah, for me, see, I thought they were going for like a civil rights To Kill a Mockingbird sort of thing, and when I got that idea, I felt really, really excited, but then they just didn't do anything with it, right? So it ends up just feeling like great ideas, but like a really half-assed attempt at expressing that idea. And in the end, it didn't really say anything, especially because in the end they get out of it by bullshitting the courtroom, essentially. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Weird.
So there were several very interesting ideas that were set up. First of all, let me just say also, before I get into nitpicking, let me just say that the performances within this episode were outstanding.
Yeah, Virginia Hay. Oh my god, yeah.
Virginia Hay was killing it. Gigi Edgley was killing it. They actually let Rigel's voice actor act. Like, it was just her hallucinations of John, Aaron, and Dargo, like especially like sweet, gentle, affirming, reassuring Dargo, who was just like looking you right in the eye, and it was just like, you know what?
Yeah.
Oh God,
I
yeah.
believe in you. I believe in
Yeah.
you. I was like about to hug my TV and be like, I believe in me too now. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. It makes me wish we could have had more of it. Somehow we could have had Dargo and Zhaan still as a thing, because I also like Chiana and Dargo as a thing.
That's the thing. They kissed, didn't they? They kissed, and so it's like
in her hallucination.
Once again, the show just doesn't know what it wants to do. Like
it wants to tease you.
That's what it's doing a great job, Josh.
It wants a big poly pile on the
yeah, like
and we can't do that because it's 2000.
So all these really great performances are just sort of swimming around in this like mulligan stew of a plot.
Yeah.
That exactly what you're saying, Jack. Like they set up several really great ideas that just didn't that just went over like Bonnie and Clyde over a cliff, Thelma and Louise over a cliff. You know, it was
there's a good mystery story happening off stage, which is kind of
there's an excellent civil rights allegory happening off stage.
Yes.
And Chiana even calls it. She was like, there's Chiana and Rigel being forced to use other strengths, and then they don't have to because they wind up tricking everybody anyway. There's there's Zhaan being forced to deal with her guilt and her like death wishy suicide way of thinking about it, and then she doesn't have to worry about it. It never gets resolved.
And there's no tension because this is entirely a flashback. It has no relevance to the present. She's already given up to seek by the time we get to this. So it's like, this is why I took up the thing that I abandoned. And there's no stakes. Like, this is the definition of no stakes.
Yeah.
And I
really don't like the let me tell you a story flashback approach. I would much rather do memories or archives or intercuts or whatever like that, rather than, well, it was like an episode of Full House. Like he was, Bob Saget, and just sat down and was like, well, kids, I guess it's finally time for me to tell you how I almost got hung at a jury trial or whatever. It was just terrible.
There are times when I like the tell me a story approach, but you have to use it to something interesting. Like if it'd been like more subjectively from Zahn's point of view, that could have been interesting.
A little more Rashomon.
Yeah.
I just feel like the episode could have been done in sort of real time. The whole flashback dream stuff was pointless. It didn't really serve a purpose, I don't think.
Well, they had already filmed that.
Oh, okay. So they needed to use it. Right.
Yeah, they filmed it before they made the decision. So this is the Cage thing.
Yeah, but they still could have intercut. Like that they filmed a framing device around it is what's driving me nuts.
Yeah,
they could have used it better. That's what I'm trying to say.
Because there is no current plot that is doing anything apart from
not at all.
Like it's resolved in the cold open. We have the one problem in the modern in the current time, which is what's making the ship not work. And then we discover it's Kiva barbecue, and it's unfixable, and so we just roll our eyes at Rigel and wait, which is just like no stakes.
That's really what the whole episode was. The whole episode was just waiting.
Yeah,
but
this is the point of the season when we shall stop.
But for me, it's just like we get to the end, and after the episode, I sat there for a while, and I'm like, wait, so what was the dream trying to say? Was it like a manifestation of guilt? And then knowing what I know now, I'm like, oh, it didn't mean anything. It was just there.
Well, it's because she was having a nightmare. She was dreaming about him.
Yeah, but why? Like this?
Yes,
it had nothing to do with what happened.
And telling the story doesn't resolve it.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
As far as we know. So yeah, That is all the connecting tissue that there is. It is just that there is none.
Yeah.
So I feel like the episode could have worked as a season premiere if they had I'm trying to think of a word other than guts, but if they had the guts to cut out even the hallucinations of Dargo, Zhaan, and Aaron, and just have the episode be the foursome, because then it preserves the suspense of what happened to them. They're trying to find them, they're searching for them, and we don't have time for this and all that kind of stuff. If they had, if we had begun in the episode the question of what happened to them, it could have worked as a season premiere, I think, because it would have preserved some dramatic tension.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have been hard to interest people into the show if all of a sudden we're starting without three of our main characters.
Yeah, and I agree, and I think that's probably where the lack of, again, I can't think of a better word than guts comes from in not telling the story that way.
Yeah,
because the season premiere does more than one job. It doesn't just finish a story; it also hooks in an audience. So I agree with you there.
Yeah, I think this should have been a Kill Your Darlings. It's like, yeah, it's a great idea. You didn't find a place to make it work. And maybe they would have if they, saved it for even further down the line. But yeah, this just kind of it's just kind of like, let's stop and listen to a story that has no stakes.
Speaking of the hollow, I'm gonna call them the holograms. I don't know. I like the scene between Zhaan and I guess what I am going to call Hollow John. In the jail cell where Zhaan talks about how she got her strength from the crew, and then he tells her that she isn't alone because she has Rangel and Tiana. But I'm like, okay, he's technically not wrong, but she's got a self-serving slug and a bratty teenager. I mean, that's pretty dire to me. I mean, it turns out they're in a corner and they're great, but at the time I'm like, yeah, that's not a lot.
Yeah. I love them stepping up. So let's talk about some of the character development. Let's talk about some of the bits with our characters. So let's talk about Zhaan.
The thing I really love, like Dark Zhaan, I love unhinged, crazy like Zhaan, and we get a ton of that here. And I just love how Josh, I think you touched on the bit with Hollow Dargo. I love that scene. The performances were amazing, but what I really loved about that was Dargo was a hallucination. So it's not really Dargo that gave her strength. She gave herself strength. That is my heart, man, my freaking heart. But yeah, and as we also touched on, Virginia Hay, amazing performance here, amazing.
I did love getting a window into just the constant weight of guilt that she carries around with her all the time. And that was part of my frustration, is that there wasn't a resolution or catharsis to that emotional expression in this episode.
Yeah.
But even getting to experience it was a treat, And the way that she was so ready to be like, I'm guilty. I did it. I crushed his throat with my bare hands.
Yeah, the sacrifice play. Yeah.
And I got to imagine that she was probably thinking about any number of other times that she actually did crush somebody's throat with her bare hands. Like, just it was an opportunity for her to engage in penance. And it was delicious.
I think what I would have liked is sort of to use the sort of legal thing. We already have a legal setup. It feels a bit like the characters are the hallucinations are playing defense. I would have liked to see the prosecution. her whether it was like a vision of herself, laying all the things out that the other characters are responding to.
Oh, that would have been so much more gripping. Wow.
Yeah.
Or some figure from her past. It would have been an interesting role for Maldus.
Oh.
Or like, the guy that she actually did kill.
That's a freaking great idea, Sarah.
Really
Holy
idea,
crap.
Yeah, if it had been like there was one trial of Zhaan going on here and one trial of Zhaan going on in her mind, with the things, instead of just like the sense of guilt that she has, if we actually got to see what she has, see that guilt embodied, see what that guilt is, if we had a bit of, if this had been kind of Zahn's version of the way we weren't. When Aaron had to come to grips with who she had been.
Yeah.
I think Zhaan is doing that, but we're only hearing the defense. We're only hearing, no, you're good. You do the good things and you have the strength. We're not, which is lovely. And I love that scene with Dargo, but I kind of feel like it's responding to something that we aren't seeing.
Yep. It's just off screen. It's over there with the civil rights allegory and the world building.
Exactly.
Yeah. Then we could, like, it would have been really interesting to have something that was like, that mirrored the legal thing, because like that's the thing that legal plot lines actually let you do, is have a kind of morality play, have a kind of adversarial debate over the truth.
It's also I feel like very easy for the subject or the protagonist of if it's not a legal show, like it was not like a legal procedural and they just do the court episode of whatever, it's very easy for whoever is on trial to become an object in their own story. And when they gagged Zhaan, I was like so worried that that's what was happening, that we were losing Zhaan in Zahn's story. But to your point, Sarah, they kept up with the hallucinations in her cell, and so we still got some good meaty Zhaan character. And so that was another positive mark. I feel like I need to like make up for not enjoying this episode very much.
No, I mean we're as always, the caveat is we know that they are laying track while the train is running, and we know that we are Monday morning quarterbacking. We're doing it, we get enjoyment out of it, and not because we think we could have done a better job. Because even if we were in their position, we wouldn't have infinite time and resources.
Sure.
I wouldn't have watched the thing like 4 times or probably in my lifetime, because this is usually one I skip on a rewatch, but I've watched it a couple of times and like, yeah. So like we're doing a bit of a story autopsy.
It's an autopsy. I was just about to say that.
Right.
Yeah. Because that's how we learn sort of the interesting things about story. Yeah, and I think it is really interesting that this was a Frankenstein beast that just never came, the undead darlings that never quite,
You know what?
I also
still better than Jeremiah Crichton.
Well, that's the thing. I also want to make clear that I didn't hate it. I really didn't hate it at all. It just I Josh. I just wish it was better. Like I just wanted it to do so much more than it actually does. But it's I mean, I'd rate it like a 4 out of 10, which isn't great, but it's not a 2 either. Oh, and before I forget, just quickly, the thing with the sunburn or the moon burn, it seemed like they were setting that up to be, the resolution that was going to save Zhaan and prove her innocence. And I sort of rolled my eyes at it, because as soon as it's brought up, I'm like, oh yeah, there it is. There's the thing that's going to sow the seeds of doubt in the court. And I actually would have preferred they did that than what they actually did.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And even though that wasn't great,
Or, play the recording of the guy going, haha, I am so evil on an open job.
Which is also where I thought they were going.
Where they actually, after they have gone, I am so evil. Wah, ha, 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 ha.
Yeah.
Then they take the comm badge off her.
Right.
So they're aware that there's a comm badge.
Do you know what? I think it just...
Pilot, why didn't you just hit record?
Okay, I think it's a 3 now, not a 4. The more we're talking about it, the more I'm just like, ugh.
Well, it's
the courtroom. She calls him up onto the witness stand, and she says, you have to tell the truth, right? And you're not behind any of this, right? And it was just a coincidence, right? And then they don't do anything with that line of questioning at all. She sets a piece of wood on fire.
Yep. It's like, yeah.
And where was Zhaan's photogasm? Like all that was happening behind her, she should have been blasted out of her mouth.
Right. Oh my god, I didn't think about that.
Maybe it's the wrong kind of light.
It must be the wrong kind of light, Sara. That's the only explanation.
The thing is, I didn't even know what the hell that was, and I guarantee you they're not going to explain it. What was that?
No, they didn't take that time to. It was something that Moya was doing clearly, but they didn't actually explain what it was.
Like they should have been doing that, and Zhaan should have been like, "Whoa!"
Well, she was
starts,
gagged,
rolling
so
around on the ground.
Well, then it's even kinkier, Sara.
Gagged.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't think we needed photogasms on top of everything else in this. In this
needed
soup.
photo on top of all of this. Jack,
I'm having weird imagery in my head now. Gags. I could have let that go, or else I'm going to have a laughing fit that's not going to stop for 20 minutes. So
we're back. Everybody.
Well, we have. I have told you that this is known as the One American's trip through Australia's BDSM scene. So,
yeah.
And you ain't seen nothing yet.
Dun, dun, baby. All right, no, sorry. So yeah, Zhaan was a patsy the whole time. She was a patsy.
Yeah, which obvious stalker lady was obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got another.
Obvious.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Like it just so many and too many ideas. Not enough. I don't know. Structure.
Not enough at all.
It's one episode where I'm just like, can you guys just take this back and do it again? You can do so much better. You've done so much better. Take it back and do it again. But obviously that's not going to happen. But you know what I mean? Like it's all the ingredients were there for something great, and then they just didn't. You know what? I think I enjoyed this episode a lot less than I thought I did. The more we talk about it, I'm just like,
okay, let's talk about what I think you probably did enjoy. Let's talk about Rigel and Tiana's bits.
That was cute. Rigel, I loved, this is just a little tidbit, but I loved when he's sitting in the cell with Zhaan and he holds her hand. I thought that was so sweet. That was, oh my God.
If you didn't mention that, I was going to mention that.
It's so beautiful. I love that.
Yeah,
it's a lovely little moment, and how quickly he takes his hand back and is like,
yeah. So he's still Rigel, but you know, our little boy's growing up.
He cares.
He does. He volunteered to be defense. Like he and Tiana both said, "I will" at the same time.
Yeah. Well, that was right before he knew about the whole execution thing, though, like that he would be executed too. But yeah. I don't know. I liked the sort of bumbling buddy cop Tweedledee and Tweedledum sort of vibe between them, and just the fact that the both of them used their strengths to get shit done, you know, to achieve the goal. Like you know, Rigel was scheming, Tiana used her cunning and her sexuality, as she often does, which is not a bad thing at all, of course. and yeah, I really enjoyed them. Really enjoyed them.
Mhm.
Same. I think they might have been my favorite part of this episode, including the amazing performance from Virginia Hay. But like watching Chiana and Rigel, they were the closest to their arc actually landing. Because watching them actually struggle to like I was saying earlier, to tap into other strengths, and I appreciated both times that Chiana and Rigel like called out, were speaking for the writers almost to the camera, and Chiana's like, "Finally, we get to play to our strengths." And Rigel's like, "Hang on, this is ridiculous. We're not lawyers." Like those are good like meta moments that come very naturally to those two characters. But their journey this episode was a lot of fun.
And Chiana on speed is hilarious.
That was, yes. I've literally got in my notes here. It's so Rigel just gave her a bunch of amphetamine.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and she took them all. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
great.
You took all
And
three
the helium fart in the courtroom. That just tickled me. I love that. That was funny.
They did extend that as long as they possibly could. They were really
Yeah,
out of that one.
it did start to feel like a Family Guy joke towards the end, but it was
think
good. I like
that
it.
was probably indicative of the struggles that they were having with this episode, was how long they made that fart joke.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Sorry, what?
But I think that it's it builds on, it's part of Chiana's arc, even if we're going several steps back to where she was, from in Family Ties, she was wanting to sort of thank Zhaan, even though it wasn't in an appropriate way, and then she found her appropriate way to thank everybody with the dinner. And and now the sort of stepping up for Zhaan, when Zhaan has been kind of shitty to them, being kind of condescending. They're all kind of annoying to each other, but I think that it's really good to see Chiana step up, and she stepped up differently than Rigel, because she knew what was at stake. She was there for the whole thing with the bad effect of the entirely useless defense attorney.
Mm-hmm.
Who also just kind of came and went this episode.
Yeah.
Little impact on
Yeah.
And then we have the bartender who was like Deus Ex bartender.
Yeah, somebody get that guy a big tip.
Also, that bar reminded me of like the cantina from Star Wars. It really did. It was.
Yeah.
It was a
hive of scum and villainy.
Friday. It was Thank God It's Friday Again's bar.
Yeah.
Which I don't.
Oh.
I really hate that I didn't like this, but it looked like the same damn set that they didn't really do much different.
Oh.
And
Okay. That went over my head. I forgot.
Pulled me out of the episode a little bit, and like I said, I don't enjoy that was my reaction to that. I'm sorry, I want to just watch TV. What have you done to me?
Yeah, I didn't notice that straight over my head.
It just registered to me as like standard issue bar.
Yeah.
Apparently there's one of these on every planet in every sci-fi thing ever made. A scum of hive and villainy.
Yeah.
With really, really helpful bartenders.
Like the guy had a copy of the Constitution behind the bar.
Right? That was.
I mean, on this planet, it seems like I bet there's probably a copy of that thing everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Okay, it's not a 3 anymore. It's a 2. The more I think about it, I'm just like, no, it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
John,
but I did.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Chiana and Rigel, I loved that the writers still kept them recognizable. They didn't start doing this heroic stuff that just wasn't them, because you often find that happening in these kinds of stories where like the sort of the unsuspecting hero, you know, like they become not themselves. But I didn't get that from this at all.
Yeah, they stretched. They didn't like suddenly grow new limbs.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, Josh, what were you going to say, sir?
Oh, I was just gonna just comment on the bartender. Who was the actor who played the bartender? Because he looked really familiar.
I will find it for you.
But
really?
Just yeah, he looked really familiar to me. Just like the whole social revolution that was happening just off stage. That at the very end, and when we got back to our framing device at the very end, Zhaan directly asked Zhaan, "So what happened with all of that?" And she was like, "Oh, who even knows?" And I was like, "What?"
Yeah, I'm always when I watch this show, I'm always on the lookout for Australian actors that I recognize, and there's been a couple along the way. Not a ton, but a couple.
His name is Jeremy Callaghan. And he's known for.
Was he in Xena?
He's been in a bunch of stuff. Yeah, he's been in Xena. He was Pompey.
He was Pompey in Xena
for four episodes.
It was a brilliant story arc also. Anyways,
I haven't seen Xena or Hercules for a very, very long time. Very long time.
I saw some of it, but not enough to not a regular enough viewer to be able to pick out.
Sara,
actually,
sometimes you recommend to me that I ought to watch Babylon 5. I'm going to return the energy to you and recommend that you ought to watch Xena. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like
I think I just have so many so much associated with Hercules and.
Don't bother with Hercules. It's terrible. And also, Kevin Sorbo was just an awful person.
Don't. Lucy Lawless agrees with you. Like, you can,
I
enjoy Xena. And
I love that she calls him Peanut. She calls him Peanut. It's great.
Yeah.
I love that stuff when I was a kid.
Same.
I think I was also kind of a purist when it was, I was a little pretentious mythology geek when it was airing. And I would have been, and I was just kind of like, no, that's not right, which is not the point. But, teenage Sara didn't understand that wasn't the point.
The number of things that teenage Josh didn't understand.
Yes. I think you were a more receptive age for Xena when it was airing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought it was cool. I wasn't thinking much about it.
Pretty lady. Likes pretty ladies.
And just like swords and monsters and gods and everything. I thought that was just awesome. I wasn't really thinking about the validity or the the text and all that. I just
I rolled my eyes during the sexy scenes. I was like, get back to the action.
No, I didn't do that. You were much more innocent than I was, Josh.
Well, it's a classic of sapphic literature, so I really should.
It's a classic.
Yes.
A classic.
It sounds like a disease.
It does.
The king of the dad joke returns to claim his throne.
I did finally watch something that the other Sara had been recommending to me over and over and over again. So I watched Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, and she was very excited for my opinion, and it is very, very good.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, it's absolutely excellent. And there is a character in there who is very, very Josh.
That's Sara of the YouTube channel 5x5 Takes for all of our viewers and listeners.
Yes.
There's
two characters named Josh in the story, but neither of them. The character that is you is the boss character. whose name
I know nothing
named
of this.
Daryl.
I should check
Same.
it out.
Yes, highly recommend.
Mhm.
We are now away from talking about Farscape because
We are.
there is so little in this episode to talk about, but we are so
Yeah.
happy to be talking to each other.
We really
Yes, it's been a while. And I've pretty much exhausted my notes here. So, I
Yeah,
don't
we
know.
have just kind of gone, well,
it happened.
it happened. There were ideas that didn't come together.
Story plot.
And I liked it a little more before this conversation. Not a lot more, but a little more.
Yeah,
sorry about that, man.
There's still
That's quite all right.
stuff to enjoy there.
There is.
I always enjoy, Rigel and Shiana,
Mhm.
the law firm of Sparky and Pip.
And
That was good. Yeah.
I liked it. Yeah.
And their
And the overall
Perry Mason routine.
Yeah, and the overall production design was great. Some great performances. Just wish it did more. Just great ideas that just fizzled rather than boomed.
Ultimately,
enjoyed the set
structure
design.
is important, and they never got around to getting the structure. Yeah,
Yeah.
the set design is neat. Everything production-wise is neat.
Yeah, all of it really.
The costumes
yeah.
are interestingly weird. Like there's Big Hat Lady, but there's also like the sort of condom cap thing that everybody is wearing.
Oh god.
and apparently
I would have called it a thimble, but anyway. I like yours much better.
I was trying to like figure out the whole way. What does that weird hat remind me of? And
not a lipstick, not
And then the idea just popped up in her head.
Yes. Yes, it did. It rather arose of its own accord.
It did, yeah. It stood tall.
We really are back. My God.
Yeah. The red and black is always an interesting combination, and that's and another thing that's like red, white, and black are the peacekeeper colors. This is not a peacekeeper colony.
No.
Are you gonna pull out the red and black and it's that stark kind of, it's very, very reminiscent of peacekeeper design. But then it has nothing to do with peacekeepers.
Sabation, yeah.
Yeah. Sabation, well, they look like you, except without the weird face paint.
Mm-hmm. Except they have better makeup remover.
And don't get burned by the moon.
Because of blue eyes. I liked that. That was a very Farscapian alien thing. The blue-eyed people.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Moonburn as well? That there was two moons and they were red and yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Good for you, Farscape.
Yeah.
Look,
really
as we
neat
said
world building
before,
ideas. There are lots of
I always have to admire ambition. Like if you try, you just got to admire that. Yeah. Even if it doesn't always work out, I got to admire it.
Yeah, there are definitely interesting ingredients in this weird stew.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And then the last thing I think we'll touch on is well, you wanted John to be doing less John McClaning.
Yeah, and I got it. It's
so this is your fault.
What's that?
Be careful what you wish for.
You know that Thanos meme? What did you get? And what did it cost? Everything.
No, but
that's how I feel right now.
As much as it's entirely kind of pointless and doesn't work, I kind of like his attempt to be like Counselor Van here. Again, it didn't appear to, it appeared, it seemed to help her in some way. We just didn't see any of what their conversation was.
They did a really good they leaned really well into John and Zahn's relationship in a way that they really haven't in quite a while.
Yeah.
It was very like middle of season 1.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I really like their thank you for having compassion with me. Thank you for having like that last
Yeah.
moment
That was
together was
beautiful.
lovely.
That was good. That was pretty good.
Hmm.
It just is another ingredient in this weird stew that lacks any structure. So yes, the lesson we have learned, much as we had to learn it from Picard season 3 or season 2, I should say, is structure is important. No matter how many interesting ingredients you have, if you don't have structure, it can kind of go.
Yeah.
I know Josh disagrees with
I know
me
what
on
you're
that.
doing. I know what you're doing. I'm not going to do
And
it.
I'm just going to back away slowly. What nothing to do with that.
So yeah, with Josh not taking the bait, we should probably move on to favorite parts.
Favorite part. My favorite part. I really want to say the courtroom fart, but no, that would be that would be a runner-up.
Just say it if that's your favorite part. That's okay. If it's your favorite part.
That's up there. That's a very, very close second to the scene between Zhaan and Holo Dargo. Again, just because it's yes, she's seeing Dargo and hear his voice and everything, but really she finds her own strength through a hallucination, but still she finds her own strength, and I love that.
So the scene with Zhaan and Holo Dargo is my runner-up because I would just like to hire Anthony Simcoe in Dargo makeup to give me positive affirmations
Amen, brother.
in that soft, silky, tentacled voice of his. But for me, my favorite part was the closing scene with John and Zhaan. That was really just that was the cherry on top of this soup that I really enjoyed.
So you both picked parts that were definitely my favorites because I didn't just find the Dargo scene reassuring. It's fucking hot.
I have been
own that
for
shit.
years.
Yes.
If any persons out there are wondering what to do to turn on some person in your life, try being really affirming like that in that really confident voice. I think you may find you have a lot of success.
Yes.
You know what? I think I'm
people.
a little turned on now. Sorry,
Yes,
Sarah.
I shall win you over to my Dargo is hot fan club. Tentacle Zaddy is where it's at sometimes.
He's not ready for that, Sarah. He's not ready for that.
Yeah. let's like ease
I'm
into
not
this.
sure I am, but I just
Build
had
him
to. I had to say it because
You walk him to the edge before you push him off.
You got me. God damn it.
that just kind of came out on its own.
That's quite all right. We know I'm not adverse to that.
Yeah, and I also am very fond of John of the compassion scene. I think that's absolutely lovely. But since you two chose those moments, I'm going to choose the little handhold that gets whipped away when someone sees
Beautiful.
because I think that is
Absolutely
just kind of
beautiful.
precious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I love that one too.
Okay, so we are done with Lawyer Planet.
We are.
Stew.
And let us never speak of it again.
Oops, All Lawyers is behind us. So moving on, the next episode is called Out of Their Minds.
Oh, good.
And we shall be joined by Ren.
Oh, cool.
For both the reaction, hopefully, and definitely for the discussion.
Is that Ren the
Awesome.
Barbarian, the YouTuber?
That is indeed Ren the Barbarian, the YouTuber. Yes.
I was waiting for that line, Josh, and you didn't disappoint.
I'm trying to be supportive,
And everyone should check out their recent video on Journey to Babel.
Oh, so good.
Very, very good. One of my favorite Star Trek episodes.
Also so good.
And then following that, so after Out of Their Minds, we have My Three Crichtons.
Oh,
So I've asked you for predictions for Out of Their Minds before. Do you have any predictions for My Three Crichtons?
I think Crichton's he's going to be hit with some beam that like splits him into three. Like, is it the replacement, the Buffy episode with the two Xanders? Yeah. I think that's what we're going to get.
Daddy's home.
Oh, okay.
By which you mean?
Mr. Crichton is coming.
Oh, okay. Interesting possibilities. Okay, following that, we have a 3-part, 3-episode arc called Look at the Princess. And
that's cool.
I've had some questions about this, and I think we will they are 3 separate chapters of the same story. So I think we will do 3 different episodes on them.
Okay.
Yeah, I think,
yeah,
trying to discuss 3 episodes in one sitting probably get a bit long and a little muddled, and probably
we'll
have
have
to
to
split it
end
up.
each one on a cliffhanger, though.
That's actually not a bad idea.
I think I'm going to try and have us a guest for one of them. We'll see if that works out. And we will definitely try and do a reaction to at least one of them, because there was a speech that I think folks would love to see your response to.
Okay.
So we'll see if that works out. So that is
down.
So we have an exciting 5 episodes coming up, is what I'm hearing.
Yes, we have some.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So yes, join us in 2 weeks for Out of Their Minds. And if you are a Patreon viewer, you will get to see how the guys react to Out of Their Minds. We haven't had any new patrons in a while, and we love new patrons. We love our patrons in general. We really appreciate you. And we show our appreciation by recording these reaction videos sometimes.
And through continuous affirming eye contact.
It's like he's peering into my soul. It's so exposed and vulnerable, Josh.
You are good and strong. You are enough.
You are our patrons.
Yes. We believe in you.
We do. Go and eat that cupcake. You deserve it.
We are none of us Anthony Simcoe.
No.
Josh might be
I
the
wish
closest.
it was, but yeah.
I'm no Anthony Simcoe.
So tell the folks how they can find you, Jack.
You can find me on Twitter at Lack of Surprise 1. That's all one word with a number 1 at the end. You can find me over on Instagram at Jack Kramme, lowercase, one word. And you can find me over on our Discord server. Josh, what about you, sir?
You can find me over on Instagram at Josh Gosdin, all lowercase, all one word. And you can also find me wherever there's injustice in the world.
Sarah, my love.
I have rebranded my channel, so I am now the Fat Culture Critic.
Woo!
And on Twitter, you can find me under that, or Blue Stocking Sarah. And I recently did a video. It took me all of January to get to it, but I did a video talking about some of the fat representation that we saw in 2022 that didn't suck.
Imagine.
I sort of started at the doesn't suck bar and got to some good representation. Got to talk a little bit about This Is Us, and a little bit about A League of Their Own, and also a bit about RuPaul's Drag Race.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, it was fun to do a bit of a quick roundup. Unfortunately, the algorithm being what it is, it didn't do too well. I had some audio issues, but mostly just I was talking about something positive, and the algorithm doesn't like positivity.
So in other words, if you are listening to our voices right now, go and check it out and boost that shit up.
Yeah.
What is it?
And yes, hopefully having more videos coming.
Woo.
Yay!
I'm proud of you regardless, because you are strong. You
Aw.
are
Heartache to
invincible.
heartache we stand.
Well, I was going with I am strong. I am invincible.
I am woman.
I am woman. But that works too, Josh. It all works. Heartache to heartache we stand. Okay. I'm calm. I'm good.
And there it is, folks. We needed some Jack singing.
Bye-bye.
So this has been the Return of the Jack. Return of the Jack. Return of the Jack.
Oh boy.
And they'll fade out on that.
No, freeze frame on that. Freeze.
Or should we do this? Freeze frame faces.
Josh, you actually look
Good for the-
frozen. It's great.
If there's one thing I can do, it's pretend to be a Muppet.
I am a Muppet.
Are you a very manly
Oh.
Muppet?
I'm a Muppet of a man.
I like that. Muppet of a man.
You
oh
have-
boy.
Have you seen the 2000 and something, the Muppet movie with Jason Segel?
I have not. I didn't know
Ah.
there was one.
There's a song. Am I a man? Am I a Muppet? If I'm a Muppet, I'm a very manly Muppet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
If I'm a man,
Oh,
I'm a
okay.
Muppet of a man.
Whoosh.
As
Okay,
usual,
okay.
you
I
missed the
get it now.
reference.
Josh looks frozen again.
I'm not. I'm just listening to y'all.
Yeah. So join us in 2 weeks. And we hopefully will be back to regularly scheduling these episodes.
Mhm.
Sorry that sometimes we have to take a break, but that's the way
We do.
things are.
Life.
And yeah, thankfully nobody caught COVID this time.
Thankfully. Touch wood.
So
Touch all the wood.
well, this is the podcast to do that. And on that note, it's probably time we say goodbye.
Okay. How do we do the outro again?
We just say bye, folks.
Bye.
Okay.
Yeah, I just kind of burped and almost vomited. Never mind.
Been there.
Cheers. Oh shit, we're recording this. Whoops.
Yeah, but I don't have to use that as the
That's the
outtake.
I mean, you could. I don't care. Believe me, no shame, darling. No shame.
I was more
Um,
hoping for the it's good to be back.
Well,
Almost
hey,
vomited.
hey. Editor's choice, right?
Yeah.
Almost.
this is
I did.
Authentically us.
I did. There's also the risky fart. You
Yeah.
ever had a risky fart? Yeah.
Yeah. What's gonna happen?
What, what are we doing?
Apparently, we are all Rigel.
We're yes.
Yes. Freaking Rigel, man. Rigel.
Now in court.
That was a good scene.